Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Life Reset Collective. My name is Josh. Today, we're talking about how to create a safe space to heal emotionally. Here at the Life Reset Collective, we exist to help anyone standing at the edge of a new beginning, whether after divorce, loss, burnout, or simply feeling lost. Our mission is to offer soul deep support as you rebuild your life and embark on your life reset with intention, self compassion, and courage. Through sacred wisdom and practical tools, we walk with you step by step through the non-linear path of healing so you can remember who you are, reclaim your power, and build forward with rhythm and grace. This is your reset, and you are not alone. That's what we are about here at the Life Reset Collective. I'd like to start this video out by defining what I mean when I say a safe space where you can heal emotionally. I think this is really important to define. Now, on page 3 of the Life Reset Framework, which is our free ebook, you can download it. Link is in the description. This is basically the 9 steps of the Life Reset Framework. But on page 3 of that ebook, we give a very simple definition for actually the first step of the 9-step process, which is stabilize your space and body. Before you can rebuild anything, you need to feel safe enough to pause. This is about exiting crisis mode, regulating your nervous system, and getting your basic needs met. No growth happens in survival mode. This is where you land, secure food, shelter, rest in a quiet space, remove or reduce immediate stressors and noise, focus on sleep, hydration, warmth, and stillness. Let your body know the danger has passed. All right, I'm just going to take a moment and kind of talk about this. I'm going to freeform talk about this in kind of a more personal way. I've been through 2 different life resets. Actually, I'm going through the second one kind of as we speak. That was partly my motivation for launching this channel. Both times for me, it was due to divorce, but divorce is not the only time you may do a life reset. You're going to perform a life reset anytime you have a major life transition. It's going to basically require you to start over in some capacity. But when it comes to creating a safe space where you can heal emotionally, these are some things that you want to look out for. These are some things that you want to do. Number 1, when you're in, I call it like the war zone, there's going to be a period of stress probably, or maybe a period of no warning. But for a lot of people, it's going to be like a period of stress. It's going to lead up to like an apex of some kind of conflict. Sometimes there'll be no warning, but sometimes when you look back, you'll realize there was like a trajectory leading you towards some kind of conflict. And when that conflict hits, when the shoe drops, when the explosion happens, you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down into what I call the pit. Okay. Now, this is where we have to reset from, because you've climbed. And when I mean climbed, I mean climbed the mountain of life, moving forward, trying to make progress, maybe forming relationships, saving up money, working on your fitness, working on your marriage, whatever it is, right? So you think, okay, this is good. We're going in a good direction, basically. And then boom, you get hit by something, whether it be divorce or your spouse cheats on you, or you lose your job, or you get evicted from your home, or you lose a loved one who was like a very supportive person and someone who made a big difference in your life. And this, for whatever reason, and it can happen for a number of reasons. And one thing that I want you to know is that I'm not here to judge you to say, oh, well, only if you've gone through these bad things you reset your life. No, friend. A life reset can happen for a wide variety of different reasons, and it can come from a wide variety of different circumstances. And if you think to yourself, I am in a life reset, I'm having to reset my life, friend, that's valid. I don't care if, I've already mentioned a cause that is the cause of your life reset. It doesn't matter, because your situation is yours. And this is a judgment-free zone. We're not here to point fingers at you, to, blame you for things, or try to say your life reset isn't valid for this or that. If you feel that you're in a life reset, if this is how you are perceiving your situation, then you are in a life reset. No one else has to agree with you for it to be true. If you feel that way, if that's your perception of it, because the truth is, it's probably true. Because a lot of times, anytime we get knocked down, we have to perform a life reset. We have to get back on top. We have to climb. And I describe this as climbing out of the mud and the mire of, like, you get knocked down to the pit and you go into the mud. You have to climb out of the mud. It's so hard. This characterizes climbing out of the pit characterized as trying to reset your life once you get knocked down. You're going to probably lose access to many resources you had before. You're probably going to lose relationships. You're probably going to lose leverage you once had that helped you to make your life feel normal and complete. And you're going to maybe in a lot of ways feel like you're starting completely over, maybe even worse than starting over. But whatever the initial circumstance was that led to you getting hit and knocked down into the pit, I call this basically the war zone, the battle zone. This is a hostile, high conflict time. This could be the time where you're getting, the diagnosis from your doctor. This could be the time when your spouse informs you that they're divorcing you. This could be the time where you open the letter and you realize you're getting evicted or whatever the case is, right? There's going to be a period of time that's going to be very stressful, high conflict. Your senses are going to go on high alert. You're going to be very stressed out. You're going to feel very anxious. You're basically going to be on battle ready mode because you've been plunged into a war. It might not be a literal war, but you have been plunged into a conflict that you feel is a danger to you. And the reason you feel it's a danger to you is probably because it does pose a danger to you. And then when you get knocked down by that and you land in the mud, now is the time where you might be able to start thinking about climbing back out. Now, sometimes the conflict follows us. Sometimes we're not out of the conflict yet. Sometimes we're not out of the war yet. For example, a divorce situation can last months, even years, right? So you might think to yourself, how am I going to find a safe space? How am I going to heal emotionally with this war continuing to happen? So here's the procedure. This is what we try to do. This is what I advocate. This is basically what that part of the ebook that I read earlier, which link is in the description. You can grab our free ebook to help you walk you through the 9 steps. Very, very basic, very, very simple. It doesn't cost you anything. I put this together because these are the 9 steps that have helped me to walk through my life reset situations, right? And here's the thing. You're gonna come to a point where, the war is gonna probably return. It's gonna be like birds of prey swooping out of the air trying to get you over and over again. And you're gonna have periods of time that are high conflict. But it's really important, and this is what this video is about. And so I'm trying to basically describe to you right now. It is so crucially important that we create some kind of safe space that we can at least spend some or hopefully a majority of our time in, because we need to get out of the line of fire in order to start building ourselves up to go on the offensive and climbing out of the pit and starting our life again, performing a successful life reset, getting back on track. If we live in perpetual crisis mode, if we're constantly in a state of fight or flight or freeze, then we're going to really struggle because our nervous system is going to be so taxed. Your emotions are going to be so taxed. Your psychological processes are going to be so fried out from the stress and the anxiety and all the other negative emotions going on that it's going to be very difficult for you to do some of the things that you're going to have to do. Things like, pausing for a minute, making a plan, managing your resources. There are a lot of steps that require calmness of mind, clearness of thought. And if we're constantly in that war zone space, it's going to really distract us from some of the steps we're going to need to take to succeed at a life reset. So we need to create a safe space so that we can at least spend some time decompressing, getting out of that combat-oriented state of being. And if you've been through this, you know what I'm talking about. You're probably in it right now. If you stop and think about it, you'll probably realize, oh my God, I live in a constant high conflict state because there are all these bad things going on, or this one big bad thing going on, or whatever it is. So how do you create a safe space to heal emotion? Okay. When I say a safe space, this is going to have a number of components. One component is actually physical space. This could mean where you're going to be living. This might mean where you're going to spend your free time. This might mean where you're going to do your work, where you're going to set up your computer so you can get online and work on paperwork. This could mean where you're going to spend your decompressing time. It might be all of the above, and it might be other things, but there's a physical space aspect to this. And we do need to find some kind of physical space. Now, for some people, this is going to be very difficult. For some people, this might mean actually seeking out public spaces. So I've spent a lot of time sitting in public parks, going to the library. I've spent a lot of time sitting in graveyards, surprisingly peaceful places. I've spent a lot of time going to like sports places like basketball court, tennis courts, not even to play sports, but just to go there to sit on the bleachers, right? And obviously, some of these are, better for other things than others. Like going to the library is better if you need to set up your computer. Maybe going to the park is better if you need to just decompress. The best case scenario is to make your living space peaceful, a place where you're going to be sleeping. And this is another thing. It's not just about space, it's about a place where you can actually rest. This is actually important, really important. And I realize that this is harder to do for some people because not everyone has access to a good space that's peaceful to sleep in. However, I will say that prioritizing a place where you can rest easy is not a small priority. In fact, this should be probably a big priority. I have, at certain periods of my life, slept in my car in the Walmart parking lot or chosen to go camping, just set up a tent out in the, at the conservation area rather than spending time at any of my other options because every one of my other options was a high conflict zone, right? So maybe it's like, there's one zone where you could stay with family, but then there's a kind of conflict there. They don't make you feel welcome. And then maybe you can't stay with your partner because it's obviously blowing up because of a breakup or something. And then maybe you have a friend who offers for you to sleep on their couch, but you realize that there's also conflict there. Maybe it's because, things are always weird with them, right? Whatever it is. And I'm just saying, like, sometimes we have to get creative, unfortunately, about where we're going to sleep. But I'm going to say this. We need a place where we can decompress, and we need a place where we can rest in a non-hostile zone. Those are probably the two most important things, right? So it's like decompressing, being able to just exist in a non-hostile zone, being able to go to sleep, because being in a non-hostile zone will aid you in being able to go to sleep, which we vitally need to be able to sleep so that we can rest up, so we can face the battles ahead of us. And then being able to wake up without like having constant immediate panic because of our surroundings. You're probably going to wake up in a panic anyway. If you're anything like me, you are prone to being kind of anxious, and when bad things are happening, it's hard to get your mind away from them. It can be very difficult not to wake up in a panic, but you'll definitely give yourself an advantage if you rest in a place where you can go to bed and wake up and basically enjoy that full cycle of time without war coming upon you and just, throwing you through another loop of conflict, right? And you know what I'm talking about. If you're here watching this video about this topic, you already know what I'm talking about. So it's really crucial we look for that. And sometimes we may have to get creative. Like I said, there have been times in my life when the only no conflict zones I had available to me were in my car, at a Walmart parking lot, or at a campsite where I pitched a tent. Sometimes that's how it is. I hope you have better options than that. If you do have any potential better options, you should reach out and try to explore it. In other words, you have a really good friend, call that friend and say, can I stay with you for a few days? You might feel bad about asking, but I cannot stress to you how important it is that this step be important to you, because you desperately are going to need a safe space. So another aspect to this is social. For some people, the safest thing is to have nobody around. For some people, the safest thing is to have people around you who you can talk to, who you can lean on, who can be there to give you encouragement, motivation, whatever. There's always a danger when you begin to have people around you. If you're in a high conflict state, if you're trying to perform a life reset, it's dangerous to some degree to have people around you at all, because any person could project more negativity onto you, and they may not even mean it. And some people will do this even though they're trying to help, and they're not aware enough to know. Okay. So when I say create a safe space to heal emotionally, it's really important that you be hyper aware of what humans you're letting in your space, and then what space you're giving them in your life. Normally, we may not need to be so sensitive about this, but if you are beginning a life reset, if you're at a place where you've been in the war zone and you just like, you're fried, your anxiety, your nerves are fried, you need to save every single little ounce of positivity, of sanity, of calm, of peace. You need to just every single bit you need to save and keep and safeguard. And it is so easy for one family member or one friend or a romantic partner, especially an ex-romantic partner. It is so easy for these people, even if they're not trying to do it, to levy judgment, to try to say, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Or even worse, insult you, belittle you, try to use you needing help as leverage for them to feel better about themselves or put you down. And this is the sad thing about humans, man. And you probably know this. A lot of humans just do this stuff and they didn't even wake up with a plan to do it. It's just, for some reason, it seems to be their natural recourse. And the reason I'm telling you this is because it's so important for you to know that when you're creating a safe space, just humans are kind of dangerous to you right now. Because normally, if you were okay, if you were not in like a high conflict, life reset, destruction place in your life, it wouldn't matter if someone belittled you a little bit. You'd probably be like, whatever, I don't care. But when you're in the super vulnerable state, it's sort of like in an actual war zone being filled with bullets and crawling into a trench. And then the medic there is like, they'd say, I'll bandage you, but then they don't give you any painkiller. And then they're shoving the bandage on you and the pain is getting worse, bleeding everywhere. And then you say, oh my gosh, please stop that. And then they're like, what? Oh, so now you don't appreciate my help? Like, that's kind of the way a lot of humans operate, unfortunately, which is part of the reason why I think this channel is important, why I work on it, and why it's a passion of mine, because I think that people in a situation where they're needing to reset, they're operating from a different place. Their awareness is really high and they're very vulnerable. They're very wounded. Like, you've been hit hard, you've been hurt, and you're in a place right now where you desperately need to get a couple good nights sleep so that you can start to regain some strength, so that you can start to go through the other steps, begin putting your life back together, because there's hope. There's big hope for you at the other end of this conflict. However, there is real danger of us not being able to escape this conflict if we don't get some rest, if we don't find a way to get our nervous system calmed back down a little bit. And the only way that's going to happen is if we find a safe space, if we create a safe space to heal emotionally. I want to also talk just a little bit about, like, basically understanding that we only have so much bandwidth. Okay. Part of creating a safe space is to protect our brain. Okay. So one thing that I've noticed is that if I doom scroll on social media, stuff that wouldn't normally bother me when I'm in the middle of a terrible situation, like I'm going through a life reset right now, and it's a divorce life reset. And I mean, I basically had to just kind of start over. I mean, just at the beginning with nothing. I'm very, very close to that. Okay. And there's also a lot of legal things. So it's like, there's this anxiety about the whole situation. And, obviously you could say, well, don't worry, it'll turn out okay. 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 If I had a dime for every time someone has said that to me, and then what I always say to them in response is, okay, it's not like I just wake up with a plan to be anxious. I don't want to feel anxious, but I'm anxious, and it's my nervous system, and there's really nothing I can do about it. But I can do something about it in the sense that I can help to protect my brain as much as I can. So I've realized that when I doom scroll on social media, stuff that wouldn't normally bother me, like news stories, people sharing their opinions about semi-controversial things that I care about, even people just passing judgment in a light way on like a set of ideas that I maybe agree with or whatever. Little things like this that would normally not bother me, when I'm in a state of like high conflict, this takes away energy. It's like an energy sucking mechanism. So I would really caution you about like scrolling through social media and stuff. A lot of people do it as a calming thing, but I would like to challenge you next time you scroll through social media to really pay attention to like, is this actually calming me down, or is this actually maybe getting me a little more stressed out, causing a little more anxiety, panic inside of me? because that's the effect it tends to have on me. Now, it's also true that some types of music will do that to me. So I've been listening to music that actually is the opposite effect. I've been listening to music that has a more calm effect. So like gentle music, soundtrack music that's kind of calm and uplifting, even some like praise and worship type music. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but it is a little calming to me, right? And I try to only let stuff in to my brain that's gonna facilitate me not wasting any of my mental energy on anything that is not important, because I need every single ounce of it to get through every single day. So that's another part of creating a safe space, is we want to create a safe space for our mind, for our brain. We'll create that so that we can, while we're in our physical space trying to heal, we're not self-sabotaging by pulling out our phone and listening to the wrong music, watching the wrong videos. That's going to tax us, whatever, right? So obviously, these steps are going to be different for every person. Creating a safe space for you is going to look different than it is for me and the next person, because every circumstance is different. But friend, at the end of the day, I just want to let you know that it's really important that you try to do this, that you try to find a safe physical place. You try to get a place where you can go to bed and wake up peacefully. You try to find a place where, if there are humans around, you make so sure that these humans are good for you. And if they're not, you might have to go and do your resting in places where there are no humans, and then protect your brain when you're in your safe space from things that could creep into your space and steal your energy. If you can do these steps, this is going to help you so much. It's going to help you to get maybe a couple good nights sleep. It's going to help you to recover some of your mental energy. It's going to help you to build up your strength for the great journey that is ahead of you. The great journey of climbing out of the mud and starting your life again, because you deserve it. This channel is a no judgment zone. Yeah, we've all made mistakes. Yeah, we're all at a place where we've had hard life circumstances. But does that mean you don't deserve another chance at happiness? No, you do deserve another chance. I believe in you. I deserve another chance. And that's what this channel is about. Supporting you, providing you with practical, helpful steps so that you can actually begin that climb. Because over that mountain, my friend, over the edge of that pit, when you climb up out of there, you're going to see paradise on the other side. The best of your life is in front of you. All you have to do is go there. But to go there, we're going to need some rest. We're going to need to de-stress. We're going to need to get some sleep. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we create that safe space to heal emotionally, so that we have the strength to gather our things and begin the great journey. And you can do it. I believe in you. You will do it. Hit that subscribe button. Come back here for motivation anytime you need it. My name is Josh. This is the Life Reset Collective. Thank you so much for tuning in for another video. I'll see you amazing people on the next one.